my name is Debra Zarne. I'm the director of a music video entitled Science Fiction. And the music for science fiction is pretty unusual. It's composed by Chris Wellen and performed by his group Whispering Campaign. And the music includes both several different guitars and different keyboards and percussion. It starts out like retro 70s music, and then it segs into more electronic sounding music and even has some human-like voices wailing and calling out. So it's really an unusual piece of music.
What's the synopsis of your film?
Well, we describe the synopsis as a journey through the complexity, stresses, beauty, and joy of the contemporary world via a music waveform and visual narrative. It's sort of his take on the contemporary world and the difficulties we all face in dealing with so many problems in the world and the complexity and harshness of the world, but how we all try to navigate it together and find peace and tranquility in other ways, like through nature.
Whispering Campaign is the name of the band, or the name of the person's if this is a correct way of saying it, the name of that person's music identity, correct?
Yeah, it's his identity, and he always plays one or another type of guitar in the music, but he has some regulars in the band, like Rory Bolton, who does keyboards. He has a vocalist often, and various other people involved. But there is some rotation of people in the band.
This is not the first music video you did for them, is it?
No, actually, it's the third. The first two were quite different because the first two were strictly live action. In this music video, I use almost exclusively stock footage, which is what Chris wanted. He felt that by our using stock footage, we could come up with a more abstract, experimental, and otherworldly look than what we would have with live action, and use a little bit of live footage in this film. I shot a sound engineer in a recording studio. I was able to show him looking at the waveform of the music on his computer monitor, because the waveform is really instrumental to the film.
It ties it all together.
Yeah, and Chris, from the very first, when we were developing this, Chris wanted us to use the waveform, both as a launching pad and also as a through line for the storyline.
So this was all his vision, and how was that working with basically a material you've never shot? You didn't shoot this stuff, it's stock footage. So you're basically, it's almost like a video collage at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
So how was that experience working as a director? We're using very little material that was actually shot for the purpose of the video.
Well, what was interesting was, as I explored this one particular stock footage site, I saw some clips that I thought would work well based on what Chris and I had discussed. And then I kept finding more and more clips that I felt would work with the film and could take me in different directions with the film. For example, when we used the waveform, originally we were thinking of, well, I had this idea of maybe the waveform could morph into a human figure. Ultimately, though, we thought that could be really expensive to hire an animator to do something like that. So then we lit upon the idea of using silhouettes. The way I combined the waveforms with the silhouettes is through the use of inkblot imagery. It was really interesting. It was a lot of fun actually putting this together, and I'm glad I got the experience now of working with stock footage.
What else are you working on? Are you working on another music video, or are you working on a narrative?
Well, not a music video right now, and not exactly a narrative either. What Chris and I are about to start on is to do a short documentary piece about his band Whispering Campaign. The beginnings of the band, the evolution, the types of music that they play. So that will be coming down the pike very soon.
Okay.
I also, on an ongoing basis, I do work for some nonprofits around town, sometimes promotional videos, theatrical events, sometimes a one-off project as the need arises. Down the road, I'm thinking about doing a more personal autobiographical film. But right now, the most concrete project down the road is this documentary project with Chris.
I came across your website and I don't know why I didn't find it last year, but I came across it this morning. I didn't know that you are also a lawyer.
Yeah, that was, I would say, my first career. That's has been as a lawyer, a real estate lawyer. It's nothing to do with entertainment law. And I did that for many years and I enjoyed it, but it was never really my passion the way filmmaking is.
So you moved from lawyering to filmmaker.
Yes, for a while I was doing both, but I felt I was getting pulled in too many directions, as well as managing other things in my life. And so the last few years, I've really been focusing on the filmmaking. That's what I really want to be pursuing.
Have you ever thought of doing maybe a feature film?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And actually, some of the theatrical pieces I've done for nonprofits have been feature length, like 2 hours or longer. They've hired me to shoot different types of theatrical projects. And when I shoot them, I don't just record them like a videographer, which that's there's nothing wrong with that. That's excellent to have that recorded. But what I try to do is to use several cameras so that I can get, in addition to the wide shot, I can get close-ups and I can pan and zoom in and zoom out. And then I edit it all together so it winds up being like a regular movie, like a feature length movie. So I've done several of those now. But absolutely down the road, I'd like to do my own narrative feature length film.
Have you seen it on a big screen yet?
No, not yet, not on the big screen yet. I'm just starting to send it off to festivals. I think maybe 6 festivals so far. So I'm just starting to hear back from festivals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ross, so much.
Oh, you're welcome.